Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Prime 1-0 time, Carolina. I don't know. I feel like I thought that was going to sound better than it did in my head. But
we can redo
anyway,
it if you want to.
The Panthers are 1-0 in the preseason, baby. It's what I like to see. It turned out to be a pretty close game there at the end. Panthers seemed like they had it wrapped up, but in typical Panthers fashion, the fourth quarter, they let their guard down, but luckily they were able to squeak out with a game-winning drive for Matt Corral, if you want to call it that. Zane Gonzalez field goal to win it. Panthers get the W 23-21.
I would summarize the second half by saying that the Washington's fourth-team squad is a lot better than our fourth-team squad. And, say what you want about Matt Corral, but the guy's a winner. He's like Tom Brady, man. He just wins. He finds a way to win. He just, Listen, it's obvious that he's got it.
There is no rule in place saying, how you have to win as long as you win. And if you're just going to draw like 3 penalties in a row and to get the guys down the field within field goal range, then I am here for it. All right.
Dude, he's 1 for 1 when it comes to game-winning drives and opportunities to do so. One game-winning drive. He didn't complete a pass on the whole drive, but that doesn't really matter now, does it?
Doesn't, man. All it matters is that got a W in the win column.
Hey, man, a dub's a dub, no matter how you get it.
A dub is a dub, no matter how you get it. Obviously, we're just messing around here, but the Panthers, for the most part, in my opinion, it's really hard to gauge, your third and fourth string players in a close game, but for the most part, I think the Panthers look pretty good. I mean, the starters look well. The backups who were going to be seeing time, everybody looked well. I think we are definitely the better team. But I was impressed from what I saw from our first and second team, from our third and fourth string guys. Obviously, we kind of fell apart there at the end. Luckily, we were able to get the win. But I was pleasantly surprised. Coaching, everybody looked to be in place. There wasn't anything that was, stand out that was egregious. They look to to be up and running, and I think they're going to get better these next couple of weeks, getting some preseason reps. Obviously, doing that joint practice this week with the Patriots. But I was happy with what I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a lot of things that I like. First team looked good. Like you said, the number 2s came in and they played well. Xavier Woods stood out to me playing safety. I think it was obvious that he's going to be, a good piece on the defense. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. You look at guys like Shi Smith, who got some opportunities to go out there and play with the ones with some guys out. DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall being a couple wide receivers that were out. Shi Smith got to go out there and run with the ones. He made some nice plays. So, that's a guy fans are real excited about. You and I have always been real excited about. He's, been kind of a fringe player, it seemed like, going into this training camp. But to see him go out there and produce and stack that on top of what had been a good training camp for him at Wofford, it's good to see. And I think he's very much improved his odds of making the team, which we all want to see because we all love Shi Smith. Let's see who else stood out. Amari Barno flashed a little bit, recovered a fumble, got a pressure or two. And I think the biggest thing that I saw is that Ikem Ekwonu and Brady Christensen seem to have some chemistry there on the left side. Now, who's going to play where? I guess that's still up in the air, and, we'll see what happens there. But the fact that the two guys can line up next to each other and be a formidable pair on the left side is music to my ears, and it's just beautiful to think about. Can't wait to see if they can keep it going as we go into this season, because obviously that was the Panthers' Achilles heel all of last season, and has been for a couple of years now, honestly. So I'm hyped, man. I liked what I saw. Obviously you can't take too much out of one preseason game, but our first team guys look pretty good on offense and on defense. So that's all you can hope for, I would think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like I said, I really enjoyed what I've seen from the starters. We'll start it off with the first team offense. Baker Mayfield You've seen him in the Panthers uniform the first time. He looked good. And man, they drove that thing right down the field. And other than, a botched snap and a miscommunication on a route there with Zylstra, I mean, they looked like they were going for 6 there. And I really like, and I mentioned this on the last episode that we did, I like the deep ball threat, and they tried. Robbie Anderson had it. It was a late hit that kind of nudged that ball out, but I mean, they went for it. I like what I saw from the offense. I like what I saw from Baker driving the ball down the field. He looked very decisive about what he wanted to do, where he wanted to place the ball. And, he was only in for one drive. I would have liked to seen, another drive from him, but well. And then Sam comes in and, obviously, we are not the biggest Sam Darnold fans, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Guy stood in the pocket, took a hit, and threw a dime right in the back of the end zone to Rashard Higgins. He looked good as well. So, if anything, he didn't do anything to, put himself away from getting the starting position. I don't think he's going to, but, he looked fine. I like what I saw. Shout out to I could be saying his name wrong. I do apologize if I am. Gio Ritchie, or the tight end, the H-back. Dude, this guy was on the team last year, and I kept saying, why do we have a fullback on our team? And all of a sudden, this man's out here looking like the next coming of Mike Allstott. I mean, he's laying blocks. He's catching the ball. I mean, he had a couple grabs. I liked it. I mean, when's the last time the Panthers had a fullback that could, be serviceable in the passing game? Brad Hoover. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, if you can use a guy, use a guy. I mean, I like what I saw from him. Obviously, you mentioned Shi Smith, a guy that we thought, had a lot of potential last year. He got hurt. He had the off the field stuff, and we were thinking, he might be on the verge of getting cut. He said, I'm taking this thing, and he played really, really well. He's got a quickness about him that is, it's fun to watch, and I hope he can make the team and do something for us. So yeah, that's what I liked on the offensive side of the ball.
I feel like you just unintentionally were very disrespectful to Mike Tolbert.
You know what? You're right about the unintentional. I totally just forgot about Mike Tolbert. I'm very sorry, Mike Tolbert. I know you're a big fan of the show. Please don't.
Shout out to Mike Tolbert. Big fan of the show. He writes in a lot. If
you
want to be like Mike Tolbert, make sure you follow the show, because Mike Tolbert follows the show.
He is. He's a big fan of the show. I do apologize for that. Mike Tolbert was a very good fullback for us, a very good player in his prime. I do apologize.
But to your point, it has been a few years since Mike Tolbert's been gone. So
correct. 2015, 2016.
It's good to have a solid fullback. Even if you don't use them a lot, it's always good to have that tool in the tool belt when you need it, for sure. So
I like it.
Good to see it from Richie. Good to see it. So there is something I guess we need to talk about, which we kind of touched on it already, but what did you think of Matt Corral's overall performance? Not just his game-winning drive where he willed the team down the field with an incredible ability to fight and claw, and the leadership was there. Obviously, he's already, he's very much Tom Brady-esque already, the way he can will the flags out of the referee's pockets whenever he needs them. That is a veteran savvy move that not a lot of guys have, and he's already got it here in his first preseason game as a young rookie. Other than that incredible ability that he has, how would you assess this first outing from Matt Corral?
Well, first off, not many third round picks. All right, I got to get serious for a second. I love the jokes. They're funny. On a real note here, I gotta say, I have thought about it for a couple of days. It's crazy how much I've thought about a preseason game for a third round draft pick in my mind, as opposed to all the other things that are going on in the world. I'm 50-50 on it. Half of me says that was really, really bad. And I understand that you haven't gotten a lot of reps, but that was really bad. And then the other half of me is like, okay, this guy's basically the fourth string quarterback. He's gotten nothing but mental reps throughout training camp. The only highlights we've really seen of him have been just in a kind of a 7-on-7 or a 1-on-1 where he's just throwing the ball between a cornerback and a receiver.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't even know if I've seen any 7-on-7s. It seems like every clip I've seen of him is him throwing either one-on-one or to no against nobody.
Yeah, it's been minimal, if anything. So I'm really split down the middle. I'm not, obviously no one's gonna sit here and make a rash decision. Yeah, like Matt Corral sucks. I mean, we've got a long ways to go. Clearly he's not ready yet, and that's fine. We thought maybe he could be, but if he's not, then he's not. I mean, that's why we have Baker Mayfield and we made that trade. But it was I mean, it was tough. I mean, there were, he was routed at first, and I kind of expect him to maybe dial it in a bit, and it just didn't happen. And there was a lot of miscues, a lot of missed throws, and just overall, just a bad performance. But hopefully he can put that behind him and just say, "Hey, that was my first one. Let's get back to the next one." And hopefully this week, or maybe the following week, whenever we play the Bills, he gets his face back and can show that, he can be, he can make some plays, give us something to hold on to until we go into next offseason before we see if he's truly ready. So I'm very split between, hey, he didn't get the reps versus, there are other fourth round picks or, fourth string quarterbacks, third round picks that looked a lot better or worse. Sam Howell was a fifth round pick. I'm a big Sam Howell guy. He looked pretty damn good to me, but I understand that he has probably gotten a significant more amount of reps with that quarterback class than he has with this one, having 3 quarterbacks versus 4.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hide from the fact that it was ugly because it was, but I think you can't dwell on it too much either because I think if you look at who was on the field with him at the time,
Sure.
he's out there. He's the only guy who's going to be on the roster who's out there with that group of guys he was out there with for the most part. If any, maybe a couple other guys are going to make the team, but he's pretty much the only guy out there who's got a real shot at this roster. Everybody else is just there, as camp bodies pretty much. And obviously you could tell with the timing of some of the missed throws that the reps were not there and he had no chemistry with those guys. And then on top of that, what I just scrolled down, it says he was 1 for 9, I think. He was
Correct.
1 for 9, but I think there were at least 3 drops in there. Now they weren't perfect throws by any means, but they were drops. So if they pulled, those balls in, he's 4 for 9, you know, 35, 40 yards, whatever. It's not as bad, as ugly as it was. It wasn't great, but I can't shy away from the fact that he's out there with a bunch of nobodies. And I think, and I kind of touched on it earlier before, I really feel like Washington's squad they had out at the end of the game was a lot more talented than the guys we had out at the end of the game. And
They
we
were.
saw that, all over on offense and defense. It was 20-6, I believe. And then all of a sudden we get to the second half of the third quarter and Washington's offense and defense become unstoppable. So, I think they're just kind of more talented on the bottom part of their roster than we were. I think that was a big factor in it. Matt Corral did not, he just, he looked like a kid out there. He was brand new to it, and it was obvious that, it was all brand new to him, and that's fine. Like you said, if he's not ready, he's not ready. He'll grow in time, and we'll see. You look at it wasn't until recently that NFL quarterbacks were thrown out there to play. They used to sit and develop for 2, 3, 4 years before they went out and played. And Aaron Rodgers was that way, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. He sat and waited for a few years, so some guys, that's just what they need. So, I wouldn't put too much into this bad performance in his first preseason game, but no, it wasn't pretty, but yes, I think it'll get better.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think it's also just kind of I like the point you made about quarterbacks used to being able to sit and kind of learn some. I would say probably the last 10 to 12 years is when you've really seen that, hey, you're a first round, second round pick. Like, we need you to start. in terms of a quarterback. And, it's the hardest position to play in football. And some guys just aren't ready to start week one. I mean, we've seen many careers that we have presumed to be somewhat ruined by starting and playing too early. Sam Darnold, for example, maybe David Carr. I mean, there's been guys, Jamarcus Russell. I know he was the first pick, but I mean, there's guys that have been thrown out there and they just were not ready. There also been guys that have been thrown out there and they have been ready. So it's tough. It's a mixed bag. The Panthers, as much as we like as fans to just kind of talk and, think of hypotheticals, Matt Corral was not drafted in the third round to be the starter week one. He wasn't. So, but that's okay. But I think he'll get better. He definitely will. I'm not gonna sit and harp on it. So he'll take this for what it is. He'll learn, and he'll get better from it.
Yeah, and I'll add this. I really have been trying to get away from dogging Matt Rule so much, but I just feel like it's like he gives me no choice. I feel like he gives me no choice but to hate him, man. Like I really try not to, but. And I said this, I believe I said this to you during the game. Only Matt Rule's going to look at what he has in that quarterback room and say, yeah, well, obviously I'm going to give all the reps to Sam Darnold and PJ Walker, the quarterback who's going to lose the quarterback competition and the quarterback who you're probably going to cut. When you have the guy who needs reps because he's going to be the starter and he just got here, and the guy you drafted and want to be the future who needs all the reps he can get, especially if they're in the preseason and they don't count if he messes up.
I will say this, and I've thought about it a little bit after. PJ Walker, he played, to me, he actually played pretty well against.
He played very well, but PJ Walker playing well right now does nothing for this team. The only thing it does is the only person it's good for is PJ Walker because he puts something on tape that is going to help him land on a roster once he gets cut.
Correct. And I agree 100%. And he played really well, and that's great for him because that's good for him and his brand. But at the same time, like you're saying, it doesn't do us any good because in really no situation is he going to be in the quarterback room when the season starts, because unless the Panthers just get crazy and just cut Sam Darnold and eat that contract. If they can
find a trade partner for Sam Darnold.
Now, if they can find a trade partner,
which
then
we all know is incredibly unlikely.
Correct. Now, hypothetically, if they can find a trade partner, then I see why they would want to get him the reps because PJ's 2-0 as a starter. He's not my favorite player, but I mean, he does some nice things. He puts some nice zip on the ball, and then he does certain things that kind of make you scratch your head, like that fourth down where he basically had the first down and more and could have got out of bounds, and he kind of zipped it in there on a tight window, incomplete pass, and the Panthers turned the ball over. It was a weird series. But then again, he has nice throws where he could do a back shoulder throw and throw it into a tight window. You're like, oh, wow, it's kind of nice. So, no disrespect to PJ Walker. I think he's fine. I think a lot of people say he's not a backup caliber quarterback. I mean, I think he can be a backup in this league. I mean, on somebody's team. I mean, I don't think he's that bad. But in terms of what the Panthers are looking to do in developing Matt Corral and seeing what potential he has, it just takes away from what they're trying to do with him.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It was just silly to me because it just felt like we're all here to see these two quarterbacks, and then it was the other two guys taking all the reps, specifically PJ Walker. Darnold didn't play significantly more than Baker Mayfield, but
it's kind of like the mantra, earn your spot, like we were talking about last week. It's like, okay, yeah, we understand that, but can we just get past that and get to the part where we're supposed to be? Like, we understand that PJ Walker is a veteran, a nice backup quarterback, someone that can be, you can plug him in here and there if you need to.
Well, it's
But
like
we know that at the end of the day, like he's not the answer. Matt Corral may or may not be the answer, but we don't know because we're not seeing the reps. We're not seeing it.
right. It's like, what the hell are you going to see from PJ Walker that you don't know PJ Walker is capable of at this point?
Exactly.
It's the whole thing about Matt Corral was that he needed reps, he needed experience, this is one of the reasons, this was probably the only knock on the guy coming out of college is that he's just not seen a lot of NFL type of, offense, or he hasn't played an NFL type of offense, and he's not going to know what to do when he gets out there. And the preseason is the perfect time to get a rookie. I mean, look at what Washington did. Sam Howell played significantly more, and things were going very well for him. It just was kind of one of those mind-boggling Matt Rule things to me.
I agree. Definitely. Like you said, like you want to pull from Matt Rule, and then at the same time, you're just like, damn it. Well, I can't. You make me so frustrated. I mean, you look at the guy and you're just like, okay, I want to try to get behind him. He's coaching my team, and then something happens. Like I can't.
I'm gonna keep rooting for him, of course, because he's coaching my team. But I don't know how to not criticize his every move. I try so hard not to.
It's tough.
He's just constantly doing something dumb and just head scratching.
I agree. So we'll flip the script here and we'll go to the defensive side of the ball. Panthers defense, outside of that fourth quarter where, a lot of fourth string guys and camp bodies are out there playing, they look pretty good. I mean, I know it's a very vanilla defense they're giving. I know it's a vanilla offense they're facing from Washington and who else they might play. But, they look good. Run defense looked fine. They were making some tackles. I like what I saw. I like that you mentioned Xavier Woods earlier. I think he was in on a couple plays, just making some hits or trying to. It really, really caught my attention. I think Frankie Luvu is going to be a very good player this year. Obviously, we mentioned Amari Barno, rocking that number 90. I think it's something about that number, man. It just produces Hall of Fame talent, except for Frank Alexander, I think.
Yeah, Frank Alexander, it didn't work out.
It did not work out.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was watching the highlights from the game, and I was just like, man, why do they let players wear 90? No one's worn 89. No one's worn 59. No one's worn 1. But for whatever reason, 90, they don't care. I guess it's because the team and Julius Peppers didn't exactly part on great terms originally. But you know what? He came back after that, and they part on, and now he's with the team all the time. He's around the team all the time now. So it's very weird, like, because he's just as much a Hall of Famer as any of those other 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I get it. The whole, like, you can't retire every number and you can't let every number, go to the wayside. I mean, I get it. I think, Peppers is kind of that. It's weird because he's no doubt a Hall of Famer, but he is somewhat not remembered as much as the other guys. I guess it's because he left. You remember obviously everything with Cam and Luke because they spent their whole careers here. You remember everything with Smitty because he spent pretty much his whole career here. With Peppers, you had the first half of his career here, and then the second half was, with a couple of different teams. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But I'm fine with it. I think certain numbers can be retired. Like the NBA just did the Bill Russell thing. The whole number 6 is retired in the NBA, except for LeBron and like Alex Caruso. So it's like, why do they get to keep that number, but they retire it around the whole league? It doesn't make any sense. I don't
know. Yeah, I guess Julius Peppers isn't synonymous with the Panthers logo the way Kuechly and Cam and Steve Smith are. You know what I mean?
That would be, if I had to make a guess, that would be it for me.
You don't think of him as much when you see that logo. So I guess that's. I mean, I'm nitpicking. It doesn't really bother me. It's just something I've kind of noticed. But anyway, I'll get back
He
on
could
track.
be wearing a single digit. It could be a lot better.
That would be terrible. I'll get back on track. Another name I wanted to shout out was Matt Ioannidis. I thought he flashed a little bit out there. And I like to point to the fact that he did have back-to-back 8-sack seasons when he was with Washington. So, man, if he could come in and give even half of that production from that interior of that defensive line, that would be huge for us. That would be huge for us. So it was good to see him go out there and make some. He didn't really make plays, but he flashed. You noticed him out there.
I agree. There were a lot of good guys out there that made some nice plays. I apologize if I'm missing anyone's name off the top of my head. A lot of the defensive starters weren't playing, so it's tough to say. But I like what I saw. We've got a good group of young guys. Our first and second string look nice. Anything beyond that, we're going to be in some trouble. Hopefully, we don't get that far down the pipe there. But who knows? One thing I will mention is this is back on the offensive side, and we talked about this during the game. Is that, listen, man, Chuba Hubbard cannot catch football.
I'm out. I'm not saying anything negative about Chuba Hubbard again, because every time I do, people destroy me. Panthers fans love that guy. Listen, I don't know what it is, but Panthers fans love that guy, and he is so not good.
I think running the ball, he's fine. I think running the ball, he's fine. But anytime you put him in a situation to catch the ball in the backfield, you might as well just throw the ball into the dirt. Because, again, it's just every game he drops multiple. It's crazy. I don't understand.
All right. So that's part of my thing with Chuba. Dude has absolute brick hands. And at first I thought it was just because I was used to watching McCaffrey, who catches everything. But no, that wasn't it. The dude cannot catch a cold in the damn Arctic. And then freaking look, if there's a hole that he can accelerate through, a wide open hole that he can accelerate through, he's going to hit it and he can go. He has great acceleration. That's it. That's all he has. Whenever he gets to the line of scrimmage and he has to find a hole or find a crease, the hole's not wide, dude freezes. He just starts shuffling his feet like he's on a dance floor doing a damn 2-step cha-cha slide and hits the floor.
What'd you think about Spencer Brown? I thought he had a nice little game.
Spencer Brown's a guy I like. When I did that preseason depth chart episode, he was a guy I highlighted because I remember him from last preseason. I think he's a pretty good running back. I think he's, he could be a third string running back in the NFL. He's he's not a starter, but he's a pretty good player.
I'm wondering if the Panthers will carry 4 running backs. You think that's doable?
I don't know. I don't think so, especially if they're keeping a fullback. And, whenever I was going through and looking at the roster and trying to piece together that 53, it's going to be tough for them to get down to 53. They're going to have to cut a couple good players.
They will.
Especially at safety.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing about, preseason and training camp is you see, a lot of these guys you think, how many guys said, oh, I'd like to see that guy make the roster. They make the roster, nothing really happens. But, there's guys that you see that have potential and, they could be on an NFL field. And a lot of them will get cut and they will be signed by other teams. But, there are, a handful of guys that you see and you're like, oh, I really wish we could, stash that guy away or just have him on the side. And unfortunately, you can't keep everybody. The secondary's got some really nice pieces. I will say this, though, and my man Westery, the cornerback, he got cut. Yeah, I'm sorry, brother, but they were picking on him all in training camp. They were picking on him on the game, and it showed bad, and it didn't turn out well.
Yeah, he was a guy I thought would make it to at least the second cut. I was surprised to see him go, especially with all the injuries they have at corner. I thought they would keep him around just for that reason. But I think he's 6'4". I mean, he's a big corner,
Yeah.
but he just could not keep up with some of those guys. And to be fair to him, he was lined up against some quality players,
He
early in the
was.
game. Um, I remember Curtis Samuel caught a pass on him, and I was like, "What the hell is he doing covering Curtis Samuel? They shouldn't be on the same field." But
I almost was wondering how Curtis Samuel made it onto the field.
I know. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm a big Curtis Samuel fan. I thought for sure he was, for a moment, I thought he was going to be the better out of DJ Moore and him, but I was wrong. Luckily.
I thought they were going to be a good tandem for years to come.
Me too.
But didn't work out that way.
I tell
Maybe
you,
after-
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got it.
I was going to say someone else that kind of impressed me. I don't know. I only know his last name. Number 83, last name Wright, I think.
Yeah, Derek Wright.
I like that kid, man. He made a lot of good grabs.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll,
I
I don't know if he'll make the roster, but I like what I saw from him.
We're on the same wavelength today because I had a thought, is it possible that he could grab that last receiver spot that we thought CJ Saunders might get? But I think in order to do that, he would also have to beat out Zylstra, and I don't see that happening. But
I don't know, man. Here's another thing I was thinking. The returner that we signed, Roberts, he was hurt. So the way Shi Smith looked, he could be on the chopping block because if Shi Smith can return and play at the same time, that's I know they like to keep the one veteran guy that's can catch the ball like Zylstra, but to me, like there's some of these young guys that are flashy that are just, so hard not to take a chance on. I mean, yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough. Wide receiver is always the toughest when it comes to cuts because you really like to keep all of them, and it's unfortunate because you want to see Terrace Marshall, show out, but he's been hurt, and it's it kind of sucks.
I would definitely look at Derek Wright as a practice squad guy. I don't think he'll make the roster, but I think he'll definitely get brought back on the practice squad, assuming he doesn't get picked up somewhere else.
I could be down with that. I could see that.
Yeah.
But I did see kind of a question I wanted to ask. So I saw I was reading the Carolina Huddle before I got on here. There's tons of overreaction threads in there. It's great. But one things I saw was give me your breakout player on each side of the ball this upcoming season, offense and defense.
Putting me on the spot.
I'll start first.
When you say breakout, can they be a rookie or?
Yeah, they can be a rookie. They can
be a player who's been there.
They can be a rookie, someone that you think is just going to break out. They can be a person that's second, third year that's underperformed.
I mean, I have two, but they're pretty easy.
They're
the obvious ones.
I'll go ahead and start with mine. I think for me on defense, a lot of people are hyping up, CJ Henderson. A lot of people are hyping up JC Horn. You know what? I think everybody's forgetting about my guy, Derek Brown.
Oh.
Who'd you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Dante Jackson.
Oh,
I thought you were going to tell me it's time for us to believe in Dante Jackson.
No, we are past that point. I love Dante.
I'm ready to believe, dude.
But he is what he is. He's a solid player.
Now that he's a vet.
Derek Brown is going to have a very good year this year. Coming into the draft a couple of years ago when we picked him, the guy looked like an absolute tank. His rookie year, he looked pretty solid. Last year was a step back. I just think that this offseason, everybody's been raving about him at camp. He's in good shape. He looks better. I can't tell if he's more fit or if he's bulkier or if he's slim. I don't really know. Somewhere in between there, but he looks good. And I think he's going to have a really good season this year, and God knows we need it because the front seven is struggling in some areas, and we need him to get in there and clog up some of those holes. So I think on defense, I'm going to go Derek Brown. I think he's going to have a bounce back year and a really good year at that.
I was going to go with the two corners that you were just talking about, but how about this? I'll go with the guy lining up alongside Derek Brown, and I'll go with Yetur Gross-Matos.
I love it.
We need some help on that other side of the defensive line. Matt Ioannidis is signed into that other defensive tackle spot. Hopefully he'll help, that pass rush in the middle to help Derek Brown and Yetur Gross-Matos. Give Brian Burns a little room on the other edge with his speed. I like it. Let's see what we can do with it. But, still worried about the depth there. I like the defensive line. I don't like the defensive line depth.
Correct. And I still think there's time for them to bring someone in. I'm quite shocked they haven't. I guess they're just waiting on cuts to happen. I think that's kind of where everybody's at right now. Might as well see who gets cut before you sign somebody, commit to a roster spot. But I still think they'll bring someone in. In terms of the offense, we talked about them earlier, but I just got this feeling, man. I could feel it calling in the air tonight. I can feel it. Shi Smith. I love it. It's been so long since the Panthers have had a smaller, quick, guy that can really, get the ball and really make a play. And it's been since probably, Curtis Samuel was, when he was healthy, he was there. Ted Ginn, when he was catching the ball, he was there. Shi Smith, to me, man, when he gets the ball, it feels like he can score at any time. Just get him the ball in some area, and he just has this acceleration and the speed that just takes off. I was really worried in the offseason whenever he had that arrest or that felony or whatever happened. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I was like, man, it might be curtains for this guy. He didn't even get a chance to play. And then training camp, there's a lot of good receivers, and you're like, dude, he might get cut. That game showed that, hey, this dude is here, and I think he can make some plays this year. So I'm going to give him my breakout award on offense.
Yeah. I thought we were never going to see him again. All right, real quick. We're almost out of time. My guy is Terrace Marshall. I'm going to take
Terrace Marshall. I hope so, man.
I'm going to take the easy route out. Hopefully he can be the best number 2 we've had since Muhsin Muhammad. He's got the big body. He accelerates. He can go up and get the football. He's fast. He's got long strides, big body. He does it all. I love Terrace Marshall. Breakout candidate. Go Panthers. Keep pounding.
All right. That's about all we got time for today. Thank you guys for tuning in to Primetime Carolina, and we will see you next week.